I've always believed my life was picture perfect. I had a loving husband, Mark, and a stable job at one of the most prestigious corporate offices in New York. Mark and I had been married for 8 years, and while our love wasn't as fiery as it once was, I believed we had something solid, something real, or at least, that's what I told myself every night before I fell asleep. Things changed on a rainy Thursday evening. The office was nearly empty, most of my colleagues already gone for the day. I had stayed late to finalize a project due the next morning. The quiet hum of the air conditioning and the faint patter of rain against the windows filled the space. I decided to drop the completed files on Ethan's desk, my boss. Ethan was the type of man who turned heads, tall, broad-shouldered, with a jawline sharp enough to cut glass. He carried himself with a confidence that was both intimidating and magnetic. But I had always kept my distance. After all, I was a married woman, and Ethan was my boss. As I approached his office, the door was slightly ajar. I knocked softly, but didn't hear a response. Assuming he had already left, I pushed the door open and froze. Ethan stood there, his back to me, a towel slung loosely around his hips. Droplets of water glistened on his tan, muscular back, his wet hair slightly tousled. He had clearly just stepped out of the private shower attached to his office. "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry," I stammered, quickly turning away, my face burning with embarrassment. "Emma," his deep voice stopped me in my tracks. "It's okay, I didn't hear you knock." I turned back, unable to stop myself from glancing at him. He was now pulling on a shirt, the fabric clinging to his damp chest, outlining every inch of his physique. I tried to avert my eyes, but it was as if they had a mind of their own. For a moment, our eyes met. His gaze wasn't angry or surprised. It was intense, almost magnetic. It was the kind of look that makes you forget where you are, who you are. My heart raced, my palms growing clammy. I just came to drop these off," I managed to say, holding up the folder. He smiled, a slow, knowing smile that made my stomach flip. "Thanks, Emma. I'll take a look at them later." I nodded and practically bolted out of his office, my heels clicking against the polished floors. By the time I reached my desk, my heart was still pounding. What was that? Why did I feel this way? That night, I couldn't get Ethan out of my mind. The way his eyes lingered on mine, the way his presence made my skin tingle. It was dangerous, but it was also thrilling in a way I hadn't felt in years. I told myself it was nothing, just an innocent moment I had blown out of proportion. But deep down, I knew better. Something had shifted, and there was no going back. If you're hooked already, don't forget to like and subscribe for more gripping stories like this. Trust me, this is only the beginning. I tried to push the memory of that night out of my mind. I told myself it didn't mean anything, that it was just a fleeting moment of attraction, something harmless. But the truth was, Ethan was everywhere, in my thoughts, in my dreams, and most dangerously, in my everyday life. The next morning, I walked into the office feeling jittery. I avoided Ethan's gaze during our morning team meeting, focusing instead on my notepad, pretending to jot down notes. But even as I tried to ignore him, I could feel his presence, the weight of his eyes lingering on me. Later that day, he stopped by my desk. "Emma," he said casually, leaning against the edge of my cubicle, his voice low enough that only I could hear. "Do you have a minute?" I nodded, trying to appear composed, though my hands trembled slightly as I followed him into his office. He closed the door behind me and gestured toward the chair across from his desk. "Sit." I perched on the edge of the chair, clutching my pen like a lifeline. Ethan walked around to his side of the desk, but instead of sitting, he leaned against it, arms crossed, eyes locked onto mine. "About last night," he began. My heart leapt into my throat. "I'm so sorry," I blurted. "I didn't mean to intrude," he held up a hand, silencing me. "You didn't do anything wrong," he said, his voice soft but firm. "I just wanted to make sure you're okay." His concern caught me off guard. "I'm fine," I said quickly, though my voice wavered. He smiled that slow, disarming smile that had haunted me since last night. Good. I wouldn't want you to feel uncomfortable around me. The way he said it, his tone so deliberate, so full of unspoken meaning, sent a shiver down my spine. Over the next few weeks, our interactions became more frequent, more charged. He'd linger by my desk during lunch breaks, asking about my weekend plans. He'd find reasons to pull me into his office for quick chats that always seemed to last longer than necessary. It was during one of these chats that everything changed. We had both stayed late to finish a project. The office was quiet, the hum of computers the only sound. I was sitting across from him, going over the final details of a report, when he reached across the desk and placed his hand over mine. "Emma," he said, his voice low and full of something I couldn't quite place. I looked up, breath catching in my throat. His eyes held mine, and for a moment, the air between us felt electric. "I can't stop thinking about you," he admitted, his words sending a thrill through me that I couldn't deny. I knew I should have pulled away. I should have told him this was wrong, that I was married, that we couldn't do this. But instead, I leaned in, closing the distance between us. Our first kiss was tentative, almost hesitant, but it quickly deepened, becoming something desperate and consuming. That night marked the beginning of our secret. We became experts at hiding it. Stolen glances in the office, hushed phone calls late at night, secret meetings in his car. Every touch, every kiss, every whispered word was a rush, a dangerous thrill I couldn't get enough of. But as exhilarating as it was, there was always a part of me that felt guilty. Mark didn't deserve this. He was a good man, and I hated lying to him. But every time I tried to end things with Ethan, he pulled me back in with a look, a touch, a word. The tipping point came one evening when we were in Ethan's office. I was sitting on his desk, my legs dangling over the edge, while he stood between them, his hands resting on my hips. We were so lost in each other that we didn't hear the footsteps outside the door. A knock startled us, and we quickly pulled apart, our hearts racing. Ethan opened the door to find a coworker standing there. Her eyes narrowed as she took in the scene. She didn't say anything, but the look on her face told me she knew. And for the first time since this began, I felt the weight of what we were doing, the risk we were taking. I couldn't shake the look on her face that evening, the way her eyes darted from me to Ethan, the slight smirk she gave as she walked away. It sent a chill down my spine. She knew. There was no way she didn't know. And suddenly, it felt like our perfect little secret wasn't so secret anymore.